Howdy, everyone. Welcome to Criminals and Phantoms. Sorry we're late. Landon thought that Pokemon was more important than our glorious show here. Landon, what have you say in your defense?
I think most people would agree that Pokemon is better than this show.
No, they wouldn't. Nerds.
All right.
Nerds and weeb.
Anybody in the chat, please defend Dylan now.
Defend me? They're not defending me. They have to defend you and your stupid Pokemon shit.
I want a Charizard, bro. It's worth 60 seconds of people's time for a Charizard.
First off, it's not Charizard. It's Charizard.
It's Charizard.
Charizard.
George. Fucking moron. Sonia.
Yes.
How was your week? Did you win any
Good.
Pokemans?
No.
No, man.
Dylan's just jealous. That's all it is.
I could not give a hoot less.
Pokemon is a good investment, okay? And I might win another while we're doing this. You never know.
Good, you can pull it up and
Just mute it.
we'll have to listen to more shitty music.
All right.
So this week we have an interesting show aboard because we're talking about Amy Fisher. Now I know you guys were you guys born 93, 92?
I was 3 or 4 years old.
So you guys were around, not you, Landon. You would have been, yeah. I was far from life. So the story really starts here May 19th, 1992, when Mary Jo Buttafuoco is outside painting some benches. Her husband, Joey, is at work at his auto shop. Her 2 kids are off at school. And the doorbell rings. And it's the middle of the day. She said it was a beautiful Tuesday, and she went out and she was confronted by who she described to be a young girl. And this young girl had said, "Your husband's having an affair with my little sister, and I have evidence." And she was like, "Well, who are you?" And the girl said, "I'm a Marigold," or some shit, some weird name, right? And she pulled out a gun and shot Mary Jo in the face. This girl did. And she would flee. She would get into a red vehicle, and that was sort of where the story ended. Like, oh, well, what's happening? Well, Mary Jo was left for dead, but it was only a .25 caliber pistol that was used. And so the shot went through her neck and then got lodged in her cheek area, and it was very close to going into her brain and her spinal cord, but it didn't. And while she was paralyzed for a brief period of time, she would make a full recovery for the most part. When she woke up, she was able to describe the girl in full detail, and her husband, who was by her side in the hospital, had said, "Hey, this is strange. I know this girl." And the police were like, "What you mean?" And he is like, "Her and her dad come into my body shop. Or her name's Amy Fisher." And the police were like, "Oh, all right. Thanks for making our job easier, So Amy Fisher was a 17-year-old senior in high school who came from a pretty wealthy family. And she had aspirations to become a clothing designer. To give you guys an idea of her wealth, she wore designer clothes, and I forget what she drove, but it was a convertible of sort. It was a very nice, high-end vehicle. She was 17. So she came from a pretty well-off family, and her father and her would both go to Joey's auto shop anytime they needed any work done. Oil changes or to fuck his daughter, the huge. And so she would basically go on after being pursued by the police to say she's obsessed with Joey, and she would talk about this affair that she was having with him. The whole time Joey Buttafuoco is saying, "Listen, this is untrue. I'm faithful to my wife. I love my wife." But Amy would go on to say the reason that she shot Mary Jo is because she felt like she was dismissing the allegations. Which, okay, here's the thing. Amy will lie a lot. The one thing we're going to learn during this episode is that Amy lies a lot. But there's something interesting about this, and that is, if you've heard an interview with Mary Jo, She is very dismissive of the fact her husband was having an affair. She seems very blind to the fact that her husband is not a good person.
Yeah, she doesn't want to believe it.
And
She's in
Mary,
denial.
yeah.
That's it.
And so Amy would say that she pulled out the gun on accident and went to basically bitch slap Mary Jo, but the gun went off on accident, which I'm no like crime scene analyst, but I do feel like with how the shot went in, that almost makes sense.
I thought so too when I heard that. I was like, dude,
Because
that's
like
okay.
if you look at the scarring, it goes up like from the neck to the cheek, and it looks like if I slap you, but I don't get all of it, and the gun were to go off, that's what it looks like. Now, once again, I'm no professional, but I have to call it like I see it, you know? Um, and this is one of the few times where I think that Amy may be 100% accurate, right? So she would go on to say that she had gotten the gun from a guy who she knew she could get this gun from, and that he was also her getaway driver. Now, I wasn't able to find his name or any details on him, but I do assume that he faced jail time for these incidents.
I thought it was her boyfriend. She later then explained.
Well, you know, here's the thing about that, Sonia. There's so many, as we'll learn, that I don't know who specifically he was. I know that they had talked about that there was like a guy down the street. I know they had talked about a group of guys she would hang out with at school. Like they it's very weird because the way she paints herself is as an outcast, but the way that everyone else treated her, this lady was the talk of the town. Like everybody knew her and everybody was her buddy. And according to Mary Jo, she was fucking everybody. So yeah, there were points in that A&E sort of documentary that were uncomfortable because like Mary Jo was so overly like blind for her husband that like she didn't in any way process the things that he was doing. So once again, this is the first time that like the affair would be outed, and Amy would go on to say that Joey not only knew about her plan to shoot his wife, he was like promoting the idea. Like he was telling her like what time to show up and like how to do it. Of course, Joey would deny all of these allegations. He would say that he had never even talked to this girl in any way more than a customer and a salesperson. And I mean, we learned later that that is not exactly true. It was then revealed, thanks to I forget what the name of the program was. There was like a true crime program at the time, sort of like an entertainment network type show that aired a video of this 17-year-old having sex. I don't know how they did it legally. I don't know the logistics behind that. I didn't see the clip. I imagine it was censored and covered. You know, you would assume, but like even then, the whole thing seems weird. The reason this was huge is because at this point we learn that that Amy was an escort, that she was a high end escort, and according to Mary, man, everybody would take advantage of her services. Amy would talk about how she would meet Joey a year earlier in 1991, and that they were only friendly for a month before they started going at it like jackrabbits. Now, it's at this point that I would like to remind the audience here that this is a 17-year-old girl with a man who is twice her age. I mean, she may have done a bad thing, but she is a victim. People tend to overlook that part of it, and I feel like maybe it's because the standards have changed. Like back in the day, it was, oh, that crazy bitch, he did nothing wrong. Now I feel like people are realizing, no, that's a problem. You can't be doing that. So she would go on and talk about how it was the first time that she had felt like she was being genuinely loved. She would also claim that he's the one who got her into prostitution. She would basically say that Joey was a cuck and he liked hearing about the other guys, which is just mind blowing to me. No pun intended.
Hey, it's a real thing. I think Sonia's into something like that. Sonia, from one crazy chick to hearing about another crazy chick story. Does all this make sense?
No.
Does a lot follow?
So, of course, right, Amy would plead guilty because she wanted lesser charges, and she would admit to everything. She would claim that anger, jealousy, and love were all of her motives. And when this happened, right, all eyes went from her to Joey. And this is when the police began creating their case against Joey. And they pulled every skeleton that they feasibly could out of his closet. I mean, there were receipts for motel rooms. They were interviewing friends. They were interviewing family. They were like just finding anything that they could to throw at him. And they wanted to they were investigating him for conspiracy to commit a murder and, of course, the statutory rape. And once again, what is absolutely insane about this is Mary Jo would stick by Joey the entire time. And she would defend him. She would be interviewed by media personalities, and she would defend her husband.
Now, what if that Joey actually did do all that planning with Amy for life insurance?
Well,
and she did die.
Why
would she stick by a guy like that then?
So here's the thing. She talks about later in her life that she just didn't see it. That she didn't feel like her husband would do that. The whole thing is that they weren't able to finish the case on that. They weren't able to really cross the T's and dot the I's on the conspiracy to commit murder, because while Amy was out on bail, she was recorded basically saying that she didn't have any care, that she wasn't remorseful in the slightest. Now, her bail was set at $2 million, but her family decided to sell her life story to get the money for the bail. And so like 5 different companies came out with like movies made for TV. There were like news articles, there were books. One of the books she would go on to later like amend and co-write, but like there was a lot of stuff happening in this 2-year period. And so because she was caught on film basically saying she had no remorse at all and things of that nature, they couldn't use her as a reliable witness against Joey, because you can't. It's ruined now. Your whole case is ruined. So Amy Fisher would be sentenced to 5 to 15 years. And at this point, Joey was still very much denying everything. But when Amy was put away for 5 to 15 years, witnesses began coming forward. And it makes you wonder why it took them so long. But when the witnesses started coming forward, there was like one after. It was like a Me Too before Me Too was a thing.
Right.
Because it was like people from his shop came first, and they were like, oh yeah, we saw him doing her in the apartment upstairs. And then like people who she went to school with were like, oh yeah, we knew. They would go out to eat with us. It's like, okay, but that's not a red flag to anyone that there's a 30-something-year-old man sitting with a bunch of Fucking
Teenagers.
16-year-old kids. And they would describe basically all the places that these two would do it. Hotel rooms, motel rooms, speedboats, her house.
Car.
Everywhere but his house, from what I understand. He did not bring her into his home. But of course, his 2 children and his wife were there, so I guess that sort of kind of makes sense. But everywhere else, the world was quite literally their oyster.
Oh.
Probably smelt like one too.
Ew.
Listen, there you go. That's why people watch this programming. You know what's crazy, Landon, is that this is not the most wacky that this story will get. That we take a real left turn. So
I never underestimate the crazy of a woman. So.
Oh, it's wild. So once again, a lot of this information was coming out about Amy and Joey, but Mary Jo still defended and stuck by her husband. He would plead guilty to get lesser statutory rape charges, which this was the first time that he would admit publicly that anything happened. He was originally hit with 6 months, which due to his plea deal was the maximum, but he would only serve 4. So just to rattle off some numbers for you. In 1995, Joey was put on probation for unrelated solicitation. So this is 2 or 3 years after this whole debacle. In 2003, Mary Jo would officially file for divorce from Joey. At this point, the family had moved to California. They had pretty much started anew, and they were very much living, well, Joey was very much living the high roller lifestyle of a D-list celebrity. He would do celebrity boxing tournaments. He would do other sort of weird appearances like that. He would become a regular on the Howard Stern show. And boy, are we not done talking about Howard Stern. In 2004, he was sentenced for insurance fraud. And he actually would do a pretty decent stint in prison for this, where he would call in from prison to the Howard Stern show. All very interesting things. In 2005, he was charged with illegal ammo possession. He would also box the wrestler Chyna in 2002. Landon, you like Chyna?
No, I don't. No,
Oh, come on,
I do know who Chyna is, but I do not know. Why would you assume that?
You got the face for it.
You definitely do have the. You definitely do look like a Chyna fan.
Chyna lover. Okay.
And this was because there was like a show at the time called Celebrity Deathmatch Boxing, and whoever was supposed to box him had dropped out. I think it was the dude who had his wiener chopped off by his wife. What was Bobbitt? I think that's who it was. Is John Wayne Bobbitt. I think he was supposed to do it, but he dropped out. So Chyna would take his spot. Is anyone curious as to who won?
Chyna.
Joey Buttafuoco apparently kicked her ass.
Really?
It was apparently bad. Like, he apparently beat the shit out of her. Yeah. He allegedly at some point would get back with Amy. Now, this is where the story starts to get a little hazy. Because it was around the point of 2006 that they had been pitched a reality TV show, I guess to center around Joey and Amy having a relationship. And they were going to have, like, his family involved in it. It was going to be a really weird thing. Well, she was already in a relationship with Lou Barilla, who we'll talk about in a minute. And he was already, like, divorced for the second time, because he had gotten remarried and divorced, like, immediately. So it was a weird thing that no one knows if it was like a work or a shoot, if it was like legitimate or not. But it was definitely strange. And in 2009, Mary Jo would write her tell all book where she basically said that she forgives these guys, but she hates both of them. And she talked very candidly. As a matter of the title of the book is something like "Getting It Through My Thick Skull," which the pun is just that lady's fucking great. But she said that it didn't click for her until her and her son, her grown son at that point, were having a conversation, and he had referred to Joey as a psychopath, and she didn't know what that meant. So she looked it up, and she said upon looking it up, she realized how foolish she was to stand by him for all of those years. And here is the sort of details with what would happen to Amy. So Mary Jo, as I said, would forgive Amy. She would even plead with the court to reduce her sentence in 1999, and the court did. And because they agreed to because they did this, it basically met her parole agreement, and so she was released basically on the spot. So she was put away when she was 17. She was now 24. And she had been away for 7 years. And what the media once saw as sort of a very shy young girl became a very rigid, almost badass. Like, Mary Jo or Amy Fisher had tried to sue a lot of different people during her time in the prison. She had claimed that she was gang raped by corrections officers and other officers. She had claimed that she was getting beat up and that like they allowed this to happen. Many speculate that this is because she wanted to get moved to a prison closer to home. While all this is happening, her parents would get a divorce, and the only person who would visit her, talk to her at all, was her mother. Her mother was all she had. And there were brief periods of time where like they would move her, and of course the cameras were on her 24/7, and she almost, from where we started, she began carrying herself almost like a badass. You could tell that she was a lot tougher after being away, and she would get out and she would become a columnist for the Long Island Press. As I said, she would go on to co-write a book about her story, basically titled My Story, and she talked about her side of things. And boy, who's ready for the goodies? Because we are about to take a turn that we have not taken on this show.
Didn't she even like try to sue the attorney she had for the trial?
Yeah, she tried to sue her own attorney because she claimed that he lied to her about like her charges or something like that. Like if she agreed to the plea, that there would be a deal made. Yeah, she sued everybody. She's a crazy lady.
She's trying to get easy bucks.
Hey,
So
if you ain't cheating, you ain't trying.
So in 2007, she would put out a porn film with her husband, Lou Barilla. She had been with him for a pretty decent amount of time. I don't know the exact numbers, but it was stated on YouTube like 2002, 2003, which is why I say it's really weird if she ended up getting with Joey in 2006, because she had already had 2 children. And they had also began releasing like pictures of her, and at first people were like, oh, these are fake. And then they watched the video and they saw that she had a very unique tattoo. Any guesses as to where the tattoo is?
Tramp stamp.
No, but that would be it's the ugliest tattoo you'll ever see in your life. Landon, any guesses?
I have no idea.
It surrounded her navel.
Okay.
She had the ugliest tattoo around her belly button.
What was it?
It looks like 3
A man's mouth.
clovers. Sonia's a creep.
You are a freak.
I tell you though, this is why I love doing shows with Sonia, because when you least expect it, she's like Jaws, no pun intended. She just comes out of the water and takes a leg. It's like, it looked to me like 3 4-leaf clovers touching each other. It's the weirdest looking thing.
I have to Google that.
Oh yeah, I unfortunately can't pull it up because we'll get taken down for some reason. And she would begin her career as a cam girl at this point. That was what she did. And her husband would release several more videos over the next 4 years, until 2011, when she would retire from the industry. She would continue doing cam girl things until 2022. And to be completely honest with you, she may still do it, but I tried to find it. And her domain is for sale, and like I don't know where to go for this because she seemingly doesn't have any social medias.
Too old for it now.
Well, it's interesting that you say that, Sonia, because we're getting
like 45 right now.
Well, yeah, she's I think 48. We're getting there though. In 2008, she would walk out of a Howard Stern interview after only 6 minutes. She and her husband, Lou, promised to go into the Howard Stern show and talk about their video. And basically, the reason that this video was so high profile wasn't even that she was in it. It was because the video sounds like two animals going at it. Like, it's dirty and it's dark and like it's some wild shit. I have done some research. I have done some research, and I can tell you it's up there for some of the darkest shit I've ever seen.
What kind of animal would that be?
Like a couple cats fighting?
Imagine, if you will, a grizzly bear fucking a chipmunk. That's what this was like. He was the bear, she was the chipmunk, and it was very vocal. There were a lot of noises happening. It was very uncomfortable. I should also point out that
Do it again. What was that one?
Go ahead, Sonia.
Dylan, hush. I got a good clip of this. Go ahead.
No, come on.
I'm gonna have that on a button next week. Whatever the fuck that was.
God.
Is that what it's like, Sonia? Come on. I guess that's how Canadians do, Dylan.
She was able to. I gave her very little description, and she was able to put together a sound with ease.
He's like, I've seen this before.
I think Sonia has some experience, is what it is. I think Sonia's been around the web a time or two. So it was around this period in 2008 that once again the celebrity boxing deal, Lou would try to fight, and it might have actually happened. I don't know. Lou and Joey would have a fight. And it was like sort of a publicized thing. Like they would even have like a weigh-in where they would have a confrontation on like the carpet and whatnot. It was just really weird. And once again, like I don't know what was real and what was a bit and what was, a work and what was a shoot, but it was all just very weird because at this time Lou was also splitting up with Amy. So who the fuck knows what was going on? And I should also point out that Lou was like a pretty old dude.
He was an ex-cop.
Yeah, he was an old ex-cop. But, like, he has white, copish hair. He looks like a big, beefy Italian man. And, like, a year after they do these videos, this midlife crisis mobile gets his fucking arms fully tattooed. He goes from not having any tattoos to just being inked out like the fucking Undertaker is what this guy was trying to go for. It was just all of this is so fucking weird because the two of these side characters have somehow became the main characters. And Amy's kids at this point are probably both 18. Mary Jo's children are probably closer to your guys' ages, up there. And the reason that that Amy walked out on the Howard Stern show is not because they were talking about her porn. It was because Mary Jo's daughter Jessie called the show. And what she said was basically, you're a bitch, you're a whore, and just because my mother forgives you doesn't mean I do, and you should unalive yourself.
Wow.
Was the gist. And Amy was very sad. And she gets up and she says, Howard, we're done. And Howard goes, what are you talking about? We're done. She goes, I didn't know she was going to say that. I thought we were going to have a friendly conversation. And Amy got up and left. And they're interviewing Lou, and Lou's just laughing. By the way, he would then become a reoccurring character on the Howard Stern show.
I like how supportive he is.
All of these people would completely lose all morals and go into their business for themselves. So we continue because in 2009, she would put out an adult pay-per-view. And this is the same point in time where she was having the resurgence because she had put out this adult pay-per-view. Things were going well. And she started doing events at strip clubs where she would strip.
Is she making animal noise too?
No. But this is the best part of the whole fucking thing. This is the part where I heard this and I said, Landon is going to love this. She quit very quickly. Landon, any guesses as to why?
Joey was there.
That would have been funny too.
Probably fair. I have no idea.
Her fans started showing up. And one of them said to her, quote, put your clothes on, you're too old.
I would probably have said that too.
But if you thought that, then why did you travel down there to see it?
But that's the beauty of this statement, is that nothing about this is normal.
Jesus.
In 2010 was the last time she would put out an adult film, and she would have a lawsuit with some company. Basically, the company would put out these videos and they would leak some of her photos, and she would sue them. I don't know if she won or lost. She sues everybody. But like, she's gone pretty much off the grid.
She has a third child too.
Is there a third child? See, I didn't know that. There you go. So she's gone pretty much off the grid. To my knowledge, she had a Twitter. She hasn't been active on Twitter since like 2020 or 2016 or something. She had a website which she was able to buy the domain for from someone else. That used to be where she used to do her cam girling. Now the domain's up for sale, so I don't know if she has an OnlyFans or if she's still alive or if she stepped away from the business.
Landon will do the search there.
Yeah, Landon will figure it out. And yeah, so I don't know anything more about this lady. I know that Joey is just as crazy as ever. Between him and what's his name? Ron Jeremy. They are the two worst aging people I've ever seen in my life. Have you seen recent pictures of Ron Jeremy?
No.
Landon.
No.
He looks like Chef Boyardee.
I could see that. He was already a creepy looking dude.
Oh, it's so much worse because it's like half of his face melted. It's rough. I'll have to send you a picture.
I don't
Really. Oh, you have to, because I had to see it. Now everyone has to see it. And yeah, and like, oh, it's just rough. These men have aged terribly. I think Lou's doing pretty good though, and Mary Jo, from what I understand, and her kids all have their own lives, and they want no part of any shenanigans. Like they don't try to be celebrities. Every 4 or so years they do an interview. Like I saw a couple months ago that Jessie, the daughter, did an interview with someone. Mary does an interview about every 4 years. It's getting to the point where it's pretty much every anniversary, like 5 years, 10 years. But they've all adjusted, and they're all, in a space where they're happy where they're at. So that's the story. It's not a victimless crime. There was a lot of hurt here. There was a lot of sadness here, but these people made their money and filled a lot of holes with a lot of different substances. So bullets and all sorts of things. Landon's still watching Pokemon. Look at him looking at his phone. He thinks I don't know what he's doing. He's looking up Amy Fisher.
No, I'm just
Did you see that video?
I just can't wait to hear these sounds. I'm gonna look these up.
Yeah, I'm telling. Yeah. It's about a 40-minute video. I think it's hardcore. With that, everyone, what are our final thoughts for the day? Landon, I'll start with you.
Yeah. So episode 1 of Crazy Bitches. This one's gonna be hard to top. I'll tell you that. Yeah. What's the rest of the month look like here? Because that one might take the cake already, my friend.
So
Any
this
more porno?
Yeah.
not to my knowledge. There, we may down the line open up for a show like this, though. This month, of course, being February, the month of Valentine's, I thought how fitting it would be to rip off Investigation Discovery and cover The Deadly Women. And next week we're off because it is Super Bowl weekend. So you can't say that, actually. Sorry, it's the big game weekend. Please don't sue. I did not mean to use the word. Irene Schroeder will be the 18th, and Mary Mallon will be the 25th, but you would know her as Typhoid Mary. But I really want to talk about March, because March's official title is Fugitives and Fun. The first week of March, March 4th, we will have a game, Landon.
Oh, really?
You can't miss. I might even bring on guests, because we're going to have a game. Sonia is going to host the show.
Uh-huh.
And
Taking our clothes off?
see, now why do you assume because Sonia's hosting the show that we're all taking our clothes off, Landon?
It's like strict time.
I mean, it's either that or like some bestiality stuff. Something
So
weird
much. Can you make the noise again, Sonia? That's the one that Landon's gonna put on his computer. See, she'll listen to me when I tell her to do things. She won't listen to you.
That's gonna be my text tone moving forward.
I have to keep a straight face if I'm gonna do it.
So the way that the game is going to be played, she's going to have 3 different stories where she's going to change names and whatnot, details. We have to guess which of the stories actually happened and which of the stories she makes up because she's a crazy girl with a wild imagination. And we're gonna be guessing on here, or maybe we'll have some audience members that'll be guessing along. Like I said, I might actually bring on some guests for this show.
Yeah, we'll have open lines. How about that? We can definitely do that.
I mean, I don't know how to do open lines. You're more than welcome to do open lines. And I was gonna bring on maybe some of our pals who we've had in the chats before. Maybe Jerry isn't too busy. Jerry, Jay, some of my pals might want to come on. I think I can fit 8 people into here. I think they allow 8 people.
Really?
I think 8 people is the number. Let me look really quick.
It used to be 4.
Yeah, I know. Well, I also pay for the premium, so
they're upgrading now.
It does not say. Oh, okay. Yes, it does. It is actually, wow, that's weird. It's 8 no matter what. So it's 8 no matter which group you are. There's actually a new one too. There's one called Growth. There used to not be that one. But yeah, so we can fit 8 people into this chat. So I can potentially get several other people, 4 other people. With that, Landon, final thoughts.
Yeah, I don't really have much. Crazy story, interesting clips that I'll get out of this, but yeah, I've never heard this one, so it was cool to hear the story for sure.
I see. I find it almost insane that you've never heard this story.
Never.
Because this was like a big one. I mean, granted, like OJ was a big one.
Yeah, but this kind of happened when I was like a year old. So.
Yeah, but even then, like they would continue to be on the news. Like it was like OJ, it was like the Menendez brothers, where they would continue to like years after. Like I remember seeing shit about this on the news like 2005. And then when like Oprah interviewed her in like 2008, oh my God. Because Oprah interviewed everybody. She interviewed everyone who was a part of this. She had interviews with Amy. She had interviews with Mary Jo. I don't know if she interviewed Joey, but I would assume so.
Probably.
Because he did everything. Any way he could get on TV, he would do it. Sonia, I'm sure you have some elegant, nice written final thoughts for us.
We are shaped by our thoughts. We become what we think. When the mind is pure, joy follows like a shadow that never leaves.
This is like one of those bad books that you keep on the back of your toilet, just so you can flip through it while you're dropping a log. Like,
see. That was.
I don't understand where this comes from. Dude.
Imagine if I said something like that. I would be arrested. That was the creepiest thing I've ever heard in my life. But because the good-looking lady co-host says it, it's okay. If I would have said that, they would carry me out of here. Oh my God, this lady, she's going off the deep end.
You know you're supposed to finish with her, so there's no way you top that, Dylan.
I don't try to top it. I just vibe. My final thought has to do with what's going on in the world right now. You know, there's been a lot of wacky shit happening. Weather balloons and nuclear fallout. I mean, it's a real weird time to be living, you know. I think that's why it's important to you know, try to be good to each other, you know. Try to not be miserable pieces of garbage as you go through this time we call life. And get yourself some friends like Landon and Sonia. Landon's a weirdo who likes Pokemon, and Sonia's whatever the hell she is. I don't begin to try to understand. But they're good people nonetheless. They're good friends to have. And each week they join me on this journey that no one watches. And that'll change at some point, hopefully. Here's the thing: we do an entertaining show.
I'm on, no one watches.
Well, we did a show, and I was just gonna say we did a show Thursday where I didn't tell Sonia because I didn't think it would be a show Sonia would care about, and I don't think she would care if I say that on air. I don't think she gave a fuck. So why would I put her through 2 hours of that? That's a lot.
It could have went way further than that.
It could have. Had I not, Jay's one of the greatest people to interview.
People watched it too.
Well, we did good numbers on my end compared to what we've done prior, and I'm glad about that. But people like hearing from Jay. People like what's different. And I try to do things that are different from time to time. Yesterday, I tried to do some more judicial coverage. and it wasn't as big as a success as I would have hoped, but I had a good time for 4 hours or whatever it was, and we just try to do things a little differently here and there, and we interview people here and there, and the interview with Kristen wasn't that good. With Jay, and geez, let me correct myself before she gets angry.
Right.
It didn't reach the number of people who we thought it would reach.
Right.
It was a lovely interview, Kristen.
Jay, we expected though. I mean, that was
well, the last time we had Jay on, I mean, it was a huge show for all of us. And not only that, like, I know that myself and Jay had we have friends who don't normally watch the show. They all tuned in. So that was like 6 people. And then also, his family, several members of his family had tuned in. So they were all there. So it was just a really good show. It's not you, Sonia, I promise. You're the only reason people watch this show. Trust me. Joe getting here late, for the first time in several weeks, Joe is dropped. Right at the end. Joe's been a busy boy. We've had a lot going on at the cigar shop, things that I don't think I'm allowed to really discuss, but we'll discuss more as we sort of grow and whatnot. But yeah, that's the end of this, guys. Thank you guys for your support. Those of you who watch this live, watch this later. We know there aren't a lot of you, but it doesn't matter to us. And give Sonia a compliment that isn't creepy. Let me specify that isn't creepy. Tell her that she's doing a good job. That's all right. But don't be fucking weird, please, because I don't. That concerns me. But
no, don't say like start up OnlyFans.
He has a Pokemon on his fucking.
You don't like that one? Here, we'll put this.
Why does he have a hat?
It's a Pikachu.
What is that one? That's not a Pikachu.
They're both Pikachus.
Bullshit. Why does he look like? Oh, he's holding a Pokeball. I was gonna say, what the hell?
I thought it was the Thunder one.
I mean, I can.
What else you
Remember
got?
these old stickers?
Ash. That's Ash Ketchum. He's no longer on the program.
Yeah, he is. Gotta
He's
catch
the
them
old
all.
one. Isn't he the very first one?
Yeah, he was the original guy. His story came to an end, I guess, this year or last year. He's no longer. He's no longer on the show. Does anyone have anything else to show?
Show? Oh, is this show and tell now?
Sonia's mind went to a dirty place, and I know based off that laugh. Sonia's devious. We're gonna get in trouble because of this lady. The FCC is gonna be looking down my door. All right, I think that's.
Did you tell Sonia that we got blocked by Facebook on our last?
Oh, yeah. So Sonia,
yeah, I saw that part.
you were probably there live for that. I assumed that you watched and watched a part and didn't say anything.
Yeah.
Because
I was gonna message you that I'm like, isn't someone gonna notice it? I thought you guys gonna notice it.
No, well, here's the thing. We were doing it right, and I guess we're just going to do a talk segment for the next 20 minutes. That's fine. Mm-hmm. So what had happened was we had gone live, and it sounded fine, because I normally do a sound check at the beginning. Orlando does a sound check, and it sounded fine for the first 30 seconds. And then the conversation turned to something the conversation probably shouldn't have turned to, given how analytics work. But it was a genuine conversation and a genuine mistake. And we have talked about a lot of shit that should have got us banned or muted before that. I mean, me and Landon have talked about some. We just did a 40-minute show on a lady who did copious amounts of porn,
I know.
But we were, for whatever reason, and without any prompting, we believe we were muted. Now, I can't prove that.
But the thing is, when I heard it before you guys went muted, that you guys were like cracking up, like voices were like.
Oh, so was it? All I know is on my end it had said that.
And then it shut off.
On my end, it had said we were good to go. Yeah. So when we shut off, it was because I had people messaging me saying, "Hey, we can't hear this," but then I had other people telling me I hear it just fine. So there were people, some people were hearing and some people weren't.
But I went on YouTube Live and it was muted.
And yes,
Quiet.
so on both. So then we sort of got to the point where I said, "Hey guys, I hate to stop you. I have to end this one." And we were already 30 minutes in at that point. I mean, we were a pretty good way into the show. Now we didn't know how long the show was going to go. We didn't have time parameters, but we had wasted 30 minutes basically.
Yeah.
And so we had gone back up, and luckily we went off without a hitch. Everything went well.
Yeah,
And
we didn't have to really recap anything because we spent time on that one subject. So
yeah.
it wasn't even that big.
And of course, you know, Jay being a former Mormon is a huge story. People back in the past liked it. And we did pretty good numbers, especially on this channel. And we gained some followers and we gained some likes. And so, you know, I appreciate everyone. And I do have people who tell their friends about this show and whatnot. But I think the thing is, Sonia, truthfully, I think it's that we're, and this is going to sound very conceited, and I wouldn't want someone to take this the wrong way, but I think that we're in a very interesting point of entertainment, because is our show educational or is it entertainment? And when you talk about subjects like true crime, like the paranormal, people don't like entertainment mixed with their bullshit. They like everything to be hokey and spooky, and they want you to be depressed. And I refuse to do a show where I'm depressed. There have been times where I've done the show very seriously, you know, because there are times where we have discussed very tragic events. But there have also been times like this where, while it wasn't a victimless crime, these people would all go on to do crazy things, and it's difficult not to sort of chuckle at that, right? And I think that that's why, is because some people may tune into our show the first time and they may think, wow, these guys are almost disrespectful. I don't feel that way. I think that we are doing our best to be in that in between, because there aren't a lot of shows that are trying to entertain and trying to educate the way that we do. And I think we do a pretty good job of being fair and not being overly inappropriate and terrible times. I mean, we've handled ourselves in some pretty dark subjects.
Fair.
But I refuse to put myself into a state of depression for an audience. I'm going to laugh. I'm going to giggle. I'm going to make jokes. And I trust myself to make those jokes at an appropriate time, you know. And what's appropriate to me is, it might not be what's appropriate to you, but you know, it is what it is. Click off, you know. But I think that's what it is, truthfully, Sonia. With that, everyone, we will see you 2 weeks from today. We appreciate. Landon's not happy about this. Landon, do you have something?
He wants to be on next week.
I still just don't understand the reasoning. We're canceling the show for something that's happening on a different day than our show.
I
Yes.
know, that's
Makes
true,
sense.
you know.
Yeah, it's fucking serious right now.
I'm
It's
just saying,
true.
Glenn.
He has a point. He does have a point.
See? Anyway,
This is-
the
Does fall
show
on
Here's-
Sunday.
No, wait. This is monumental.
there
because
might
this
be a
could be-
pop-up show next
This is-
Saturday.
This is the first time you two have agreed on anything, and it's on attacking my decision. You know, so
She
we may.
won me over with the bear noises.
Can we get it one more time, Sonia? No,
She said,
I'm hurt. Maybe if you ask her now, she'll do it. Maybe you're her new best buddy. You know, I only gave her a voice on this show, and she's spitting that away. I understand. I get it.
she's a celebrity, bro.
Yeah, she's a celebrity now. She's Sonia, Bear Lady.
Making voices, animal voices.
But no, maybe we will do something next week. I don't have it prepared for us to do something next week, but pending availability for me, maybe we'll do something. If I'm not available and you two bozos want to do something, you're more than welcome to. But God, I imagine that show's going to be a clusterfuck.
just gonna be like porn.
Well, the two of you doing a show is not like there's no, because here's the thing, right? And I know I do a lot of talking on this show, and that may bother people. We still get people who ask us why Sonia doesn't talk more. Sonia doesn't want to.
You still get that?
You crazy fucking people don't understand. So, oh yes, we still get that. We still get a lot of. I get comments about you from time to time, Sonia. Nothing inappropriate, but I do still get the occasional. Hey, why doesn't Sonia talk more?
No, she gets the inappropriate ones, Dylan.
I'm sure she does. Here's the thing. That is my biggest fear. That if this show blows up, Sonia becomes, fodder. Like there's gonna be a feet finder site somewhere. I don't want poor Sonia. Yeah, fodder. You've never heard of fodder?
What the fuck?
You've never heard of this word?
I've heard of a thought, but I've never heard of thoughter.
No, not thoughther with an F. Fodder.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm a dumb country redneck.
I'll send you the definition.
All right, good. Google
Does anyone have? I've tried to end the show fucking 17 times.
I know.
So
everybody can thank me for not having to listen to shitty intro music this week.
Oh yeah, just
this motherfucker. First off,
you're welcome,
several weeks ago, you tell me you want intro music. I go and I get intro music. I do a nice little breathy intro. Thank you, Sonia. See, Sonia's my number one fan.
I might take the show over next weekend since Dylan needs an off day.
Like, I don't need an off day. I don't need an off day. First off, I'm the only person that does extra shows, so I don't want to hear it.
You didn't even offer to do. I did an extra show this week. You didn't even offer the other.
I did too. You were fucking watching it.
I was.
You could have dropped in at any time.
I'm actually following another case right now, so you distracted me from that one for that day. But
what case? Maybe we'll come put our forces together.
It's a First Amendment case.
See, who cares? This is a murder case.
Fuck the murder case.
Fuck you.
Fuck something.
Did you just say fuck Sonia? What did Sonia do?
I know.
Sorry.
Oh my god.
What
apologize.
I did not say fuck Sonia.
Sonia, did he was gonna say fuck Sonia.
Well, I was not.
You said fuck and then you stopped. You were gonna say I'm gonna clip it.
Clip it.
All right, we're getting out of here. Thank you to everyone on YouTube and Facebook. I don't know. Enjoy watching the porno, I guess. Everyone's gonna be running to it.
UFC's tonight.
That's true. It's probably already going on. Sonia, don't watch the video. You don't need any ideas.